Imagine you talk to the creator of the universe before birth and pick the person you get to become. You say, I want to be the most courageous. The creator replies and says, well, then I will give you monsters to terrify you so that you can conquer them. I want to be wise. And the creator replies, then I will give you failures that will crush your spirit so you can learn the value of judgment. You then say, sounds like a rough life. Can you give me a good life? Creator replies, just like we measure the quality of a blacksmith by the strength of his steel, I measure you by what you are at the end, not the fire and the hammer it took to make you. A good life isn't a life that's easy. A good life is a life that makes you into a good person. And that, my son, is a hard life.
The thing that people misunderstand about success is they're looking for the easiest way to get there. Everybody goes 5 easy steps, 10 steps to greatness, 8 steps to this. And those steps for success, they're infinite. You cannot count them. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, those steps are constantly shifting. You don't know if they're there. Sometimes you have to trust that the next step is going to be there when you can't even see it. And sometimes when you step on that step, you go right into quicksand. But you got to be able to pull yourself back out of it again. And you just can't climb steps. Sometimes you got to crawl those steps. And you finally get to the top, and everything shifts, and you're at the bottom again. And where you thought was the top is not even the top. It's the beginning. It's literally the beginning of where you're supposed to be. And that's when most people just quit.
But when you decide something is a must for you, an absolute must, when you cut off any possible, you say, I'm gonna find the way, or I'm gonna make the way. Human beings, when they resolve things, when they make a real resolution inside themselves, which is they raise the standard, they make it a must, they find the way. Think about it in your own life. Haven't you had some area of your life where you raised your standard and your life has never been the same? And then one day something happened. Something just clicked you over. Something took you over that kind of tipping point. And inside yourself, you said, no more. Something inside of you shifted. And what was a should became a must, and you've never gone back.
I can't. You can't? Are you fucking kidding me? You just said I can't?
And he said, you know, I already know what your biggest problem is. And it's like the limitations you're putting on yourself are self-imposed.
You got to answer that question after you take the first step. This is why I'm always pushing that limit, because I know that within pushing these limits, there's always more.
You're going to fall on your face over and over and over again. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you time. It's going to cost you anxiety. You're not laying in bed at night staring at the ceiling with your heart pounding it 3 nights a week. You're probably not trying hard enough. Whatever the goal is, it has to be your goal. You cannot want a goal for someone else, and someone else cannot want a goal for you.
Commitment is major. See, when you decide that you're going to do something, when you commit yourself to live, you hold yourself to a higher standard. You're seeking something. You're pushing the envelope. You are challenging yourself. You are willing to walk by faith and not by sight. And you know, as a warrior, that there's a dramatic difference between being a warrior and being a worrier. Anybody can worry in life when you don't have enough courage, expanded vision, that you have outgrown a situation and it's time to move on. Life moves on you.
When they look in the mirror, they're just trying to see what's on the surface. But winning and losing wants to know what's inside of you. It wants to know what makes you tick. It wants to know what your desires are. It wants to know what your ego is. It wants to know what your limitations are. It wants to know what your mindset is. It wants to know everything about you, because winning does not lie. When you look in the mirror, You can lie and see what's on the surface. You cannot lie what's going on inside. And that's what people are not willing to see. The lies that are truly going on inside of them that are not allowing them to win over and over, or sometimes even win once. You have to look. Winning requires you to go so far deep inside yourself. It's way beyond the surface. It's way beyond internal. It's going to a place that a lot of people haven't visited in a long, long time because they're afraid to visit that person, because when they visit that person, they don't know who that person is anymore.
They say the greatest achievement of somebody comes right after their worst defeat. When they've hit rock bottom, hit the bottom of the barrel, they got nothing left. Everyone's given up on them. They've lost all their worldly possessions. They're dead broke on their back. It's at that point, guys, when everything's lost, that everything can be gained. There's no more ego there, is there? They let go of, what if I fail? What if it doesn't work? What if I don't like, what if this person rejects me? The animosity, the pressures of society, they let it all go because they've lost it all. They're just now left with the intestinal fortitude, the pride within. Do I want to stay on the bottom of this barrel, or do I climb the out of this hole? And that is a spark of what it turns out to be their greatest moment, their greatest hour. We can live that way, guys. Imagine the life you can live when you let go of the thought of failure.
Because if there's no way to go back, it's amazing what happens when it's a must to do something versus a should.
Pretend there's a documentary crew filming your success story and they're following you around right now. What would you do? What would you do if you knew that there was a crew following you around with cameras documenting your future incredible success, and they want to catch you in the act of it all? You would do all the right things you would have to do. Think about that. Organize it.
The man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. When you love the journey, the goals just happen. You hit milestones as a side effect because it doesn't matter. At that point, I don't care if I can lift this much weight or run this fast. I mean, that's cool, but I don't love it as much as I love the journey. I love the journey. What does the journey consist of? Sucking at something, failing, getting better, learning, start it over, do it again. When you fall in love with the journey, everything else takes care of itself.
Working on yourself, talking to yourself. That's so very important. Overcoming the negative conversation, that inner dialogue that's going on all the time, even when you don't want it to be there. You can't stop yourself right now from thinking. You can't do it. It's going on. And so learning how to empower yourself, part of doing that is standing up to yourself. You got to stand up inside yourself sometimes and say, shut up. You'll get scared sometimes. Your mind will go blank on you. Some people you will allow to unnerve you. And you wonder, what's wrong with me? I'm not crazy. That's why you've got to learn to make a conscious, deliberate, determined effort to stand up inside yourself. Working on yourself, watching that inner dialogue, it will determine the quality of your life.
Losers let it happen. Winners make it happen. Losers see thunderstorms. Winners see rainbows. Losers take chances. Winners make choices. It's all in the way you choose to think.
Outside the parking lot, dreary, cold morning, Miami Fitness here. Why did I bring that up? Because it's up to the individual to allow the dreariness to set inside. Do we worry about external factors, or do we worry about what's inside of ourselves? Those two different things are the two measures of confidence, positive and negative confidence. And negative confidence is an egocentric person. Bases all their performance trying to achieve third parties' agreeability, their likeness, their thumbs up, because we value their opinion. Those kind of people allow this mood and weather and everything to set in to dictate their performance of the day. There's also another side, the positive side of confidence. It starts from within. That's called pride. That doesn't value rain, sun, if there's someone in the corner looking at them, if it's 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, that pride is always awake.
To look at any great performer, one thing that makes them great is their grit. One thing that makes them great is their hunger to practice. One thing that makes them great is they are willing to sacrifice. I mean, yes, they're passionate, but did you know the root of the word passion is suffering? You've got to be willing to suffer for your vision. You've got to be willing to suffer to reach BIW, best in world. You've got to be willing to suffer the ridicule and laughter of your critics and your cynics to get to a place called world class.
Greatness is not this wonderful, esoteric, elusive, God-like feature that only the special among us will ever taste. You know, it's something that truly exists in all of us. It's very simple. This is what I believe, and I'm willing to die for it.
You might have sore legs, sore back, sore shoulder. So, the struggle is real. It never gets any easier. You gotta get harder. No one cares what you did yesterday. It only matters what you do it today.
Following your dreams is a lonely, solitary, scary, dangerous pursuit. You can't wait for somebody to think you can do it. And it's like, because they don't think you can do nothing, they can't do it. It's like, it's a lonely, scary, dangerous pursuit. And as much as you want to be able to listen a little bit, because somebody's going to give you a gem, but nobody knows but you. You can't get advice on what you should do with your life, right? Nobody knows what you are. Like even sometimes you don't really even know what you are. You got to take your shot. And it's like, as much as you want people to agree and you want the people around you to be supporting your dreams and all, it's not going to be like that all the time. You got to do it alone.
You have to have a contract with yourself of what greatness looks like, what winning looks like, what success to you is. And that contract is non-negotiable. It is literally non-negotiable.
The fruit of everything good in life begins with a challenge. Everything is uphill that's worthwhile.
We all have dreams. I had it when I was younger. So I figured the best place to make those dreams come true are in isolation. So I walked into isolation as David Goggins, but I walked out of isolation as Goggins. When you become a savage, is in isolation. That's when your mind changes. That's when your focus changes. Your dedication changes. Gain focus. Isolation is the key to strengthening your mind.
You know, one way of looking at unhappiness is people who are in one way or another in a tunnel. They say the only way to live is this way. They're not happy with it, but it seems the only way. I've got to love this person, though it's not making me happy. I've got to do this job, though it's a prison. I've got to live in this place, though I don't like it. You know, we can unpick some of those things and say, really? Is that absolutely necessary? Where human beings are brilliant at building themselves cages and throwing away the key.
We are built to constantly compare ourselves to other people. We're always thinking of what the other person has and how we are in relation to them. Are we getting as much attention as that other person? It started off when we were children. Are we getting more attention than our siblings from our parents? So we're continually comparing ourselves in rank and power and status to the people around us.
For the most part, our thinking is born of obsession and usually wrapped up in a whole lot of junk from the outside, past things things that we project into the future, stuff we saw on TV, stuff that we heard on the internet, something that somebody said to us. Most of our thinking is not serving us because it doesn't come from stillness. It's a form of activity, not action.
I want them to come up against the point where they're going to give up and quit. And they're going to sit there and nobody else is giving up and quitting. And they're going to go all in more, and they're going to start believing that there's something on the other side of that emotion. They're going to believe that there's something past the story of their past because they're stretching themselves out of the known. And it takes a tremendous amount of awareness, repetition, information, model building, sharing, understanding, experiencing to finally have a person get to the point where they just let go.
You better be real careful with the words that you tell yourself, because that right there, how you view yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you look in the mirror, and how you perceive yourself, that's the same way you're going to see the world, the same way you're going to talk to the world, and the same thing you're going to get out of the world. So you better be real careful on the story you tell yourself on how you feel about yourself. Otherwise, what are you going to expect?
The origin of wisdom, according to the Greeks, was know thyself, right? And I believe that very firmly, that knowledge about who you are is an end in itself and will help you in so many ways become that human being that I think we all have the potential to become.
The first and most important thing is that you have to understand that if 95% of who you are is a set of unconscious programs, then the first step is lighting a match in a dark place. If you want to become someone else, you got to become aware of who you are.
How you can change your circumstances by changing your attitude. Your attitude towards life will determine what you get. If you're avoidant and hostile towards people, a hostile person will tend to create hostility around him.
Revelation is very clear. Revelation is very eminent. Revelation is what's being revealed to you, what's right in front of your eyes. If only you stop thinking.
But I told myself, the guy that hires me is going to be proud he picked me. So what do you got to do? You got to show up every day. And what happened is I was on this path. Here's that path right there. It just glows. And all of a sudden, people start jumping off the path over time. Kids, drugs, failure, it doesn't matter, excuses, I don't care what it is. But if you stay on that path and people are jumping off, you show up and guess what happens? You become the oldest guy on the team.
I think that you don't suffer less, you suffer differently. And the most important thing is if you're not alone. Probably the most difficult thing in all our experiences, and certainly in the experience of pain or loss or suffering or ache, is not to be alone.
Each time I feel anger at my sibling or my mother or friend for saying something that I misinterpreted, I go, that's your ego speaking. These people weren't saying something that was personal. You just have your ego, which is always getting in your way. Question it.
You see, the moment your life will change is the moment that you turn your reasons of why you can't into your reasons of why you can.
You learn to love yourself in the context of your relationships with others. It's interactive. You need a good amount of self-awareness, but you also need to be in relationships because it's people who help you become more aware.
It's simple. Knowledge, experience, wisdom. Philosophy, initiate that philosophy, master it. Mind, body, soul, thinking, doing, being, learning it with your head, applying it with your hands, knowing it by heart. And this is the journey of knowledge, because when you learn that information and you really study it, you are going to begin to see the world differently because your brain is changing.
Imperfection stalks us. I don't think we will ever overcome it. And indeed, the quest to be immortal, to be free of blemishes, to be always correct, to say and feel always the appropriate thing, is in itself a form of madness and wrongness. And I think that we best accommodate ourselves to the conditions of life by accepting in an a priori way, that we are flawed, those around us will be flawed, we will make errors, those around us will make errors. We are largely in the dark, therefore we need to go easy on ourselves and be generous towards others.
If I could stay connected to the emotions of my future all day long, there's no way I would be looking for when it would be happening. How could I look for when it would be happening if I feel like it's happening? I wouldn't look anymore, which means I wouldn't be separate from it. And that's when you start creating the magic.
So that somebody else tells you, I too have gone through this. That's why we read books that inspire us from other people who have also lost and found their way back and saw the light again, and they created new hope and reconnected with someone and allow themselves to love again and have another child and start another business, whatever it is. You know, you go through it, but you have a sense that there is that thing called going through it, and that you can come out of it on the other side, that there is hope.
You want to love life. You want to love fate. And what fate means, things happen to you you can't control. You didn't control who your parents are. You didn't control what city you were born into, what school you went into. You didn't control whether you were born rich or poor, right? There's much you can't control, that's fate. Accept it for what it is. Stop whining and stop going, I want something else. Embrace your world, your life. Our fear of death is probably the greatest influence on our behavior.
Revelation is literally like, it's not something very mystical. It's look at what's right in front of you. Most of the times, if there's a crisis, if we just stop, sit, and open our eyes, the path is revealed right in front of us.
Become obsessed with improving yourself. There's something about self-improvement that has a bad reputation. People throw around the term and it sounds nice in theory, like something you'd aspire to in the abstract. But when it comes to the daily grind, to the work it takes to improve yourself, not just once, but consistently, it's easy to get distracted, to push it aside, to think there's always tomorrow. But here's the truth. If you want to be the best version of yourself, you need to become obsessed with it. Obsessed with growth, obsessed with learning, obsessed with the constant drive to push yourself further, harder, and beyond what you thought was possible. It's not enough to casually want to improve. It's not enough to tell yourself, I'll work on myself when I have time. Because you never will. Time doesn't wait. The competition doesn't wait. The world doesn't wait. If you're not obsessed with improving yourself, you're going to get left behind. Obsession isn't a negative word. Let's redefine obsession for a moment. We often think of obsession as unhealthy or out of balance. We associate it with fixation, with an inability to stop thinking about something or someone to the point where it becomes all-consuming and disruptive. But that's not the obsession I'm talking about. The obsession I'm talking about is a focused, relentless, and powerful commitment to growth. It's an addiction to getting better every single day. And this type of obsession, it's a positive force. It drives you, motivates you, and transforms you into the person you're meant to be. The price of mediocrity. When you're not obsessed with becoming better, you settle for mediocrity. You accept the status quo. You let the days pass, feeling like you're doing enough, but never truly pushing your boundaries. But there's a cost to this. You might be comfortable. You might be content. But contentment is a dangerous thing when it comes to growth. It's a silent killer of progress. Because while you're comfortably going through the motions, someone else out there is grinding. Someone else is obsessed with learning, with refining, with becoming the absolute best at what they do. And here's the kicker, that someone will be the one who takes your place. They'll be the one who steps into opportunities, who builds the empire, who becomes the version of themselves you only dreamed of being. This isn't a scare tactic. This is a reality check. If you're not obsessed with improving yourself, you're letting time slip away. You're letting opportunities pass by without taking advantage of them. And in the end, it's not about what you were capable of, it's about what you actually did. The key is this: you can't just want it. You can't just be mildly interested. You have to be relentless. Every hour you dedicate, every minute you spend improving, every time you push yourself past your limits is a step closer to mastery. It's easy to look at someone who's achieved greatness and think, they must have had it easier. But the truth is, those who are exceptional didn't get there by accident. They got there by becoming obsessed with their own improvement. Fueling the obsession. So, how do you get obsessed with improving yourself? How do you make it a part of who you are, not just something you try for a while and then quit? It starts by making growth a lifestyle, not a phase. You need to make it your default. Your obsession becomes your compass. It's what wakes you up early, keeps you up late, and pushes you through challenges. It's what keeps you committed to the process when others are giving up, when things get hard, and when it seems like the reward is too far off. The power of small wins. It's easy to think that obsession means going all in from day one. But the reality is, obsession isn't just about big, dramatic actions. It's about consistency and small wins that build up over time. Each small victory compounds. Each new lesson learned adds another layer to your foundation. The obsession is in the little things, the daily habits, the attention to detail, the unwavering commitment to getting 1% better every single day. This is how champions are made, through the repetition of small actions, repeated with precision and passion. It's the obsession that drives the action, and it's the action that creates momentum. Turning obsession into legacy. When you're obsessed with improving yourself, it doesn't just change your life, it changes the lives of everyone around you. Obsession creates ripple effects. As you grow, as you get better, as you rise higher, you inspire those around you to do the same. You become an example of what's possible, of what relentless effort can accomplish, and eventually, your obsession will turn into legacy. You'll leave behind a trail of impact, of people whose lives you've touched, of goals you've crushed, and of achievements that others will look up to for years to come. Becoming obsessed with improving yourself is not about reaching some distant finish line. It's about the pursuit. It's about the constant striving to be better than you were yesterday. It's about never being satisfied, never settling, and always looking for ways to grow. Because the journey, the obsession, is the reward. The version of yourself you're becoming is the greatest gift you can give to the world. So, become obsessed. Go after it with everything you've got. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for someone else to tell you it's time. The time is now. And if you stay obsessed with your growth, the world will never be the same.
Push yourself long past the point of boredom. Boredom kills more people in the pursuit of success than any hater will ever kill.
Did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? If you wake up every day with a super clear intention and reverence for life, realizing how short it is, you absolutely get your act together. People take an eye-opening experience and some don't do anything with it, and some people grow from it. Your life doesn't end up an accident. Your life is a series of actions that you initiate or don't initiate. And that your thoughts are going to control that roadmap. And so how are you using your mind today to either make yourself feel great or not? Everyone watching this already made a decision this morning. This morning, they made it a life-changing, huge decision this morning. And that is either I'm going to get up, enter the world with no intention, go through the motions to hopefully get by or survive, or I am going to get clear in this morning about what I want, what I'm going after, who I'm going to be, how I'm going to serve, and whether or not I'm going to be excellent and extraordinary or not. And the problem is most people never make that conscious decision. Like, what is it now for you about how you want to define yourself? What types of relationships you want and how deep you want to go? What is it that you want to develop as skill sets? Because a lot of people, the reason they hate self-audits and they hate self-evaluation because it feels bad, but they're letting it feel bad. Instead, it's like, how do I perceive this and think through instead what my real intention should be? The world completely underestimates the power of visualization, completely misutilizes the human power of contemplation.
Now, building yourself begins with intention, clarity. You have to know who you want to become. You can't just show up in the gym of the mind and do random stuff any more than you can show up in the gym of the body and do random stuff and think that you're going to end up on the stage competing for Mr. Olympia. It doesn't work like that. All of the different things that go into getting great at any sport, all of those things must be learned with calculation. They must be practiced and rehearsed over and over and over. You have to push yourself long past the point of boredom. Boredom kills more people in the pursuit of success than any hater will ever kill. Boredom is the great killer of dreams. Boredom. Because people don't have the focus, they don't have the clarity of what they're trying to achieve. They've not built into their life an intoxication for what they're trying to accomplish. And there's 1,000 voices in your mind telling you all the reasons why it's somebody else's fault and it's not your fault. But the reality is, the moment you do that, you're giving away your power because you're not looking for a way to change. You're not looking for a way to shape your skill set. Remember, between where you are and where you want to go, it is a gap of skill set. But if you really want to become extraordinary, you've got to separate your self-esteem from being wrong. You have to. Because otherwise, you're never going to see the opportunity to get better.
Who's in control? Is the overwhelm in control, or are you in control? Are all these different situations making you feel something, or are you allowing yourself to interpret something to make it that?
It does not matter who you are today. The only thing that matters is who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there.
You only need 3 things to win: the balls to start, the brains to learn, and the heart to never give up. And the best thing is, you already have all 3.
Be f***ing fearless. Be f***ing fearless.
Losses have a way of turning you into bosses. You've got to experience it. The ups and downs of life are not like teeter-totters. It's not you're winning or you're losing, it's you're learning or you're growing. You learn so that you can grow. Every time you have a setback, it's a setup to find out what's within you. If you don't have the will to go through a loss, you will never have the ability to handle the wins.
Go out there and fail. Go out there and fail miserably, but achieve failure. Achieve failure. If you can do that, you can also win. And all winners have failed.
At the beginning of the year, a lot of you had goals, ambition, a lot of drive, a lot of motivation. A lot of you aren't proud of who you are. You don't like the person you created. Do what I did. Start from scratch. Create somebody that you're proud of. It's that hard.
It's a traumatic thing for your friends and family to think you're a piece of shit, and to think you're a failure, and to think you're a when you're struggling your ass off to try to build shit, bro. That's a traumatic thing. You're like, nobody's here for me. And it's a very real lesson in life, because guess what? Nobody is here for you. And that's the biggest mistake a lot of you guys make, is assuming that they are. There's nobody here for you. You have to put this on your back and carry it. And if you don't, you will not get there. That's the bottom line.
You see, winds are like wind. It pushes you forward, it gives you something, but it raises the expectation. Who much is given, much becomes required, and more comes out of you, and people expect out of you. And when you can't live up to it, you can set yourself up for failure. But failure isn't what you have to live in. It's something you need to embrace. Every time you fail, you learn. And when you learn, you grow. And the more that you grow, you earn more. You see, experience is so valuable that you can't avoid it. If it were given to you, you couldn't value it. You must become the person who becomes a victor after being victimized. It happens. But losses don't make you a loser. They make you a learner.
You need to do something, you do it anyways. You don't do it because you're motivated, you do it because you're disciplined. You need to let discipline be your guide, not how you feel. You impose discipline on the situation and you do what you're supposed to do. You don't feel like working out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you don't feel like working out, it doesn't matter. It's not part of the calculation. Discipline overrides that.
Unchosen suffering is going to happen in life. Your parents are going to pass away, loved ones are going to die, your relationships are going to break down, your body is going to fail you, you're going to become ill or sick or destitute. Things are going to happen that you have no control over. And the only way that you can prepare yourself for unchosen suffering is with chosen suffering. You can elect to put yourself into a position to become a stronger alloy of whatever the metal is that you're made of. And by purposefully choosing difficult things, you will armor yourself against that situation. It's still gonna suck, but think about how much more fragile you would be if you hadn't overcome all of this stuff.
Do you know the difference between champions and everyone else? And I was like, what? He said, everyone always looks at them and says, what do champions have that I don't have? And he said, they have it backwards. He said, it's what do champions not have that I have? It's what do they lack? And it's an off button. They just don't stop. And so in dealing with the gold medals, he's like, they just never stop. They just can't stop. Everything in their life is geared towards one goal. And they approach everything in their life that way. And I think that that level of obsession around like everything that you touch on a daily basis is required for really getting to where you want to go.
Born risk takers. Free. Takes guts. Takes goals. And you know something? You're sitting there watching this and you're thinking, by God, I want to change something. Then seize this very minute what you can do, or even dream you can do, and begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Only engage and the mind will grow heated. Begin and the work will be completed.
You're the closest to getting what you want is always the hardest. People give up right before they get what they've always wanted to get. People quit and they give up. And I will not be the person who quit before I got what I wanted.
Everybody wants the view, but very few want the climb. Long days, early mornings, things that make you question if it's all worth it. But this is what you signed up for. Struggle is what separates those who talk about it from those who are about it. Every setback is proof that you're chasing what most people give up on. Stop complaining about the grind, because you can't get to the top if you're not willing to get your hands dirty along the way.
Right, commitment. Can I stay true to what I said I would do, long after the mood that I've set it in has left? Can I stay true to what I said I would do, long after the mood that I've set it in has left?
fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. And so it looks like this ocean that you're going to step into and drown. But as soon as you step into it, you realize it was not that deep at all, and you can keep walking through it. If you actually take the step and realize that it's not death, you're not going to drown immediately. There's plenty of other steps you can take from there, even if you get a little wet.
We start making promises to ourselves about, hey, I'm gonna lose some weight, I'm gonna do better in school, I'm gonna be better here, be better there. But guess what happens? Now all those endorphins are gone. All of that noise is gone, it's quiet. And it's you against you. And that promise you made about getting up early and getting after it to go lose weight, study harder, guess what? It's a lot harder now. That repetition becomes a lot harder now. So a lot of us can't do things on our own. So find somebody in your life. So when you throw that towel in, they throw the back at you and say you're not done yet.
To question everything, to question your religion, to question your societal rules, to question the idea of a college degree. But that's how I feel all of us should be living life, by questioning everything. And I don't mean being skeptical of everything, there's a difference. I mean healthy skepticism, ultimately questioning the rules of the culturescape so we can stay true to our own inner identity.
This is a time of incredible unrest. We've got social unrest for all of the injustice that has been out there for so many years. We've also got a financial crisis, which I believe is going to get much worse, including an environmental catastrophe in the making. So, with that context, I think one of the most important things a human being can do is press the pause button each morning while the rest of the world is asleep and ask yourself, how can I fortify my mindset? How can I insulate my heart set? How can I optimize my health set? How can I escalate my soul set? The four interior empires. So that when I walk out in the world, I'm creative, I'm productive, I'm compassionate, I radiate positivity, and I have resilience in case I get knocked down.
As you took your incarnation, you knew the turbulence you would be facing during this Renaissance period in our human history. But you're in a Renaissance period right now where the old is rising up to die off and the new is emerging. Something you knew you would be in this Renaissance period, and you know somewhere within you that you did not come to conform to the present paradigm. As a matter of fact, the opposite of courage is conformity to an old paradigm. That is the opposite of courage. You have come to break the chains and anything that binds us to the present paradigm so that the new can emerge. Come at this time in human history to not walk lockstep, but to begin to vision and see what we could be.
But, you know, if you look at the greatest women and men who have ever graced the planet, these were so-called ordinary people who just set up their lives in such a way that their native gifts saw the light of day. All it takes is that one person who coincidentally shows up in our life, and maybe it's a book, maybe it's a podcast episode, to introduce us to a new frame of reference and a new way of living. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you have not discovered something you're willing to die for, you're not fit to live. And I believe we all need to find our mighty mission and our crusade.
What many people don't realize about the world is that growth is a goal in itself. It's one of the key things that drive us forward as human beings, but very few people write down growth as goals. How can I give back to the world? There's a very important reason for that question. If you want to be happy, make other people happy. And I believe that when you do these three most important questions, that third category is what truly leads to fulfillment.
And only in service can we be happy. And that's us on a consciousness level. That's the identity of consciousness. Like water is wet, the sun is heating and light. Consciousness is service.
I think the idea of goal setting in the Western world is rubbish. Because here's what happened. You are basically encouraging people to set goals based on that same culturescape with its restricting rules. So people set goals along the lines of this. Okay, we need to get good grades so I can graduate high school, so I can get into a good college, need to study hard to get a good GPA. Why are kids going into these professions where they end up in a job that they thought was a good goal at one point, only to find themselves absolutely miserable? It's because these goals aren't coming from inside us. They're coming from the culturescape. And the culturescape is basically a safety net mechanism.
We stumble before we walk, and then on shaky legs, we embrace the new habit. And that's the very nature of personal transformation. I mean, every master was once a beginner, every professional was once an amateur. And I think, we live in a world of easy. We want the easy morning routine versus the morning routine that'll give us the greatest payoff. And there's a reason that a lot of the great saints, sages, poets, military leaders, world changers got up at 5 a.m. and before the sun. I think it's the quietest time of the day.
The reason is, the main deep or the main Vedic reason is that we've been created that way because that's our nature and that's what makes us most happy. Because this whole world is almost a school, an education system to make us realize that one truth. And we see that when we're serving, when we're doing that, we feel genuine happiness. But when we're trying to gain and greed and power and strength, we even feel empty as it slips through our fingers.
So what I advocate is, and the three most important question is, forget the means goals. Means goals are goals designed by the culturescape. Instead, go straight to the end goals. First question you ask yourself to identify your end goals is, what experiences do I want to have in life? The beautiful thing about experiences is, often they don't require that much money. It's crazy, we associate money with happiness, but often the most beautiful experiences in life require no money.
That we're wired for generosity, we're wired to serve, to make us realize that that's our real nature, that's our greatest self-awareness.
Start off with gratitude, thanksgiving, and appreciation. We start off with, I got cargo. We start off with, I got gift. We start off with, everything that the universe is within me already. We start off with, I am and I have. That's the premise, that's the starting point. I've got a great destiny. Even if you don't know what it is right now, I've got a great destiny.
COVID right now, may we give ourselves permission to be gentle with ourselves. That's how we live our days as human beings. I mean, I'll get up and sometimes there's a current, like you said, a child who kept you up at night, or it's the pandemic, so maybe you're worried, or maybe you've lost a job. And so those currents will take us off course. And so our job is just to steer back on course each day. We're not perfect human beings.
I see people who are only in it for themselves, and they feel disconnected, dissatisfied every single day. Attachment and aversion, two sides of the same coin. So we want to be in that dynamic balance of growth, but always to give. Yeah. So I always think, how can I go 3 steps deeper so that I can move 3 steps forward so I can give 3 times as much?
You ask yourself this question: for me to be the man or woman who has all of these experiences, how do I have to grow? And here we come to the second list. See, I believe we are souls having a human experience here on planet Earth. But these souls are not just here to explore all of these wonderful things about being human. I believe as souls, as human beings, we crave growth. Human beings are growth-driven machines.
We all have the ability as human beings to arrive at our own original form of greatness. We have not been schooled, we have not been taught, a lot of us have not been mentored on the mindsets, heart sets, routines, rituals that will create and allow us to live our personal genius.
Pick up your damn suffering and bear it. And try to be a good person so you don't make it worse. Get yourself together. Transcend your suffering. See if you can be some kind of hero. Make the suffering in the world less.
Why pay the price? Why work this hard? Why go this far? Work on your list of whys. If the why is powerful, the how is easy.
To live a life in alignment, and what that means is that you live a life where what you think, what you say, and what you do are aligned with your truest self. And what I mean by your truest self is the self that was not given to you by your parents, or by your education, or by media or movies, or not the self that you've created to function in the world.
Each and every one of you, at some point in your life, you are going to hit rock bottom. The question isn't, will you hit rock bottom? The question is, what are you going to do with yourself when it happens? Many people start, but few endure. It's not interesting whether or not you guys have a dream. I don't care if you have a dream. I am so uninterested in empty dreamers, I can't see straight. What I care about, do you have the fortitude to fail? And what do you learn from that failure? Do you get back up? Do you keep going? Do you force yourself to recognize that this is a question of adaptation? You simply have not done to yourself what you need to do in order to be good enough to succeed.
Everyone feels at times that we're our biggest bully, because we will always have someone saying something negative, but it's when we walk away, do we believe it? Do we let those voices echo in our mind when no one's watching? And that's when I realized I'm either my biggest encourager or my biggest discourager, and that's where attitude comes in. You know, you have people in your life where they'll keep on beating you down, but if you keep on coming back up, they won't keep you down.
It really is that simple. Once you accept that the thing that separates you from the rest of the animal kingdom is an unimaginable ability to become. You have an unimaginable ability to become something. This is going to be in service of something that I can believe in. This is going to be something that makes me feel alive. This is going to be something that I'm passionate about. It's going to be something that I actually feel like I'm contributing to the world, that I would be willing to do all of that with a smile on my face. And I said, the only question I will ever ask again is this: what would I do and love every day, even if I was failing?
It's passion plus strength plus compassion equals purpose. A purpose is like an adult, passion is like a teenager, interest is like a child, and curiosity is the womb. So the birthplace of passion is actually curiosity and interest. And I think we waste so much time trying to be like, what am I really passionate about? What do I really believe in? But the thing you can start with right now is the simplest form of, what am I curious about?
People who can unchain themselves of the past are the most happiest. And those people who actually intentionally practice an attitude of gratitude, that we must understand the crux of every cloud or funk or curveball or depression or whatever you want to call it. It comes back to, who am I and why am I here? Your value is not determined on your past. Your future is up to you today. You loving yourself, embracing yourself, not judging yourself, being able to forgive. It's not to say that everything's possible. It's not to say that everything's smooth. No, we all go through ups and downs. But I needed to get out of my own way to reach my full potential.
I think the two things that we're all working towards is a sense of peace and a sense of purpose. Peace is for yourself and purpose is for the world. And I think we all exist in both places. And I think where we go wrong is that we try to live life in an either or. Actually embracing polarities. It's actually about doing a dance and knowing which way to go at the right time. So I believe as much in strategy as I do in sincerity. And I believe in much as generosity as I do in generating value for myself. And I believe as much in giving as I do in growing. And I think as soon as you start to say, no, it's either or, you have to choose, I think that's where we start to lose a part of ourselves.
Because loneliness is not about a lack of company. It is the inner sense of disconnection with everything around you. You are disconnected with everything around you because you are engrossed with yourself. Suffering exists only when you're obsessing about yourself. If there's no obsession within oneself, then there's no suffering.
I really believe that you have to seek the love and the beauty that you want in what you have now. Because that way you're training yourself to extract meaning right now.
Your life's challenges, the rejections, the failures, it is sitting on you. It is sitting on you. You feel uncomfortable in your own skin. You do not have a vision for the future. You do not have a purpose for your life. Towards success, towards having a beautiful relationship, towards creating abundance in your life or prosperity is moving to connection. And what is stopping you from connection is your habit of constantly being preoccupied with your past.
The most important thing is your mind. Make no mistake about that. Right now, the only thing that is holding you back, I promise you, and whatever excuse you're telling yourself, it's bullshit. The only thing that's holding you back is the way that you think about yourself and the world. That's it. Flat. You have not built the mechanisms in your mind that you need to free yourself from the matrix. Do and believe that which moves you towards your goals.
That loving yourself is the most powerful thing we can do. Then everything flows. Everything flows beautifully. And I'm not talking about vanity or arrogance, because that is not love. That's always fear. I'm talking about just really respecting and appreciating this incredible, magnificent being that we are. They're never scared to let people know how they feel. They live in the moment. And they're filled with courage, and they're wonderful, and we were all like that. Got to remember that you were filled with courage, and you were full of love, and you adored yourself when you were very little.
And say, in spite of this, I'm in control here. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm not going to let this destroy me. I'm coming back, and I'll be stronger and better because of it. You have got to make a declaration that this is what you stand for. You're standing up for your dreams. You're standing up for peace of mind. You're standing up for health.
If you capture more life, then you will see you have more grace. The depth dimension and scope of your life is determined by how much life you capture within you. If you have not captured substantial life within you, you will live a small life. That's how it is.
If you are willing to see that always life, God is speaking to you, which is what all of our jobs are. Your number one job is to become more of yourself and to grow yourself into the best of yourself.
We actually have a biological instinct for meaning that orients us in the world. And that instinct manifests itself when we place ourselves in a position in the world where we're competent, where what we're doing is working, so that we're not too terrified and anxious, but also while we're simultaneously advancing ourselves and improving our ability to cope with the world. So for example, if you watch an athlete, a high-level athlete, who's at the peak of his or her performance, you see someone who's extraordinarily practiced at what they're doing and has developed the expertise necessary to do it. But then you also see them push themselves on that developmental edge to make themselves just that much better. And that function is associated with an intrinsic sense of meaning. And whenever you see anyone manifest that, you are automatically drawn to it. You see that when an actor pushes him or herself beyond their limits. You see that when someone speaks extemporaneously and manages it extraordinarily well. And I'm trying to help people understand that this meaning is a true phenomenon. It's not a secondary thing. And also to point out that most of the time, that meaning is associated with the adoption of responsibility.
The parameter, the principle, the value, the ethic that actually helps us continue with perseverance and patience is hope. Hope is that one element that can keep us going. The worst thing to happen in life is to lose hope and be hopeless. So if we're sitting there waiting for our turn to come, hope against hope. One day, I will also have my time and my place. When, how, we do not know, because these are factors that are completely beyond our control.
See, we look at everything about, oh, what can I learn? And actually half of learning, in my opinion, is really unlearning. Everyone already has the answer inside of them. You're not really learning anything new, you're just trying to get rid of all the bad lessons you learned. And everyone has that, so it's not so much about like, oh, is this person going from here to here? It's not really that, it's like, is someone going from here to here? And for me, one of the ways I've always thought about is, you can't take the world further than where you visited internally. So for me, every person that we're meeting already has that journey right there, and all you're asking them to do is look inwards as opposed to outwards. And I think it's something nice for us to know, so that we don't judge and label people. We don't walk around and think, oh, those are spiritual people, those are not spiritual people, because yeah, we're all spiritual people, and it's just that some are covered. It's like the sun's always out, but often it's covered with the clouds, rarely here, a bit more lately. But the sun is always out. It's just get covered by the clouds, and that's us. We've just been covered. And we get covered by those clouds, and they cloud our identity, they cloud our perception. And so all we're doing for ourselves and others is clearing out the clouds. And the more we do that for ourselves, the more we can do it for others, and the more we do it for others, the more we do it for ourselves.
And that is what the law of thinking is. When you learn how it works, miracles happen.
Most people, their misery is derived by their inability to sit quietly in a room by themselves. You know how many people are frightened of their own company?
You are your own competition, actually. Nobody is your competition. We have to compete with ourselves every single moment, every single day to get better than ourselves.
When you're prepared, there is no fear. Because even if you've walked out of something and you feel like you failed at it, your preparation is so strong that you're going to take that failure and turn it into the outcome you desire.
You have flow within you. You have genius within you. Most of us are so distracted. They're so overstimulated. They're so interrupted that they don't create the silent spaces where their genius can present themselves.